As a communication person, you have one responsibility, which is first of all to package messages, transmit them to the audience. Now, that does not guarantee that they will accept your messages, because the audience is dynamic, and they interact with the messages depending on how it meets their needs. And so you want to be sure that the messages, the way that you've packaged them, are actually meeting the needs that those audiences have, and then can be able to assess whether they are applying them. If the public find that, if the audiences find that the messages you have packaged for them are not relevant, they will not, the retention issue does not come. But if they find that those messages are useful in their day-to-day experiences, then obviously they'll be applying them, and you can almost ensure that they'll be replicated over, and that's part of the retention process that they'll be having. Oh, those are different publics that you're dealing with. There's government, as you mentioned, there is the ATO, there's the various publics. Each one of them only requires a certain piece of information, certain knowledge from you. And your job as a communicator is to identify what are those pieces of information that they need from you, and then package them on platforms that they're going to be able to access. So, for example, what are the platforms that you use to be able to reach out to government officials, to reach out to ATO officials? Now, ATO officials are what we consider as your internal publics. So what are the internal communication mechanisms and platforms that you have that you will use to communicate to those ones that are internal? And then you will consider what are the platforms that you use to reach out to government, and then you will put the messages for the government in those specific platforms. Then you have the wider public that you're dealing with. What are the platforms that they access? Now remember, the language for all those publics will be different. So the message packaging for each of those segments of your audience will be packaged specifically to meet what they are requiring. So once you do that, then you'll be able to populate the platforms, and the audience will be able to access it. Remember always to do monitoring at the end of the day. Did your message reach? Did it achieve the intended objective? So that will be part of what you're working on. First of all, to engage inter-group communication, whether between the the platforms in Sierra Leone, in Tanzania, and to keep all of them engaged. So creating a platform where all these people can access the same messages that they need. Secondly, is to find out what are their communication needs, and how can you plug into what those communication needs are. Now, given the different demographics and dynamics that attend to either Sierra Leone or Tanzania, you will need to be very specific. What are the communication needs in Tanzania? What are the communication needs in Sierra Leone? Are there some common areas that can be met through a common messaging? Are there some that require specific messaging for Sierra Leone, for Tanzania? And then be able to design messages that will be able to achieve that, so that globally you are able to meet what Tanzania is thinking about, what Sierra Leone is thinking about. So it's basically breaking down what you need to do and do it for the specific markets that you're working with. The importance of agriculture, and I'm really glad that this conversation taking place around how to engage dynamically, robustly in communicating agricultural messages. This is one area, and it falls within the space of development communication. This is one area that has tended not to gain as much attention as possible, both in the media houses, but also within the segments that people are involved in. And I think if we can raise the profile of this specifically targeted messaging that will lead to social and behavior change in the community, that the result will be great. And the importance of this is that when the results are great, we'll have food security, our population will be fed, and that's important.